Hello,
Hello.
everyone, and welcome to this latest edition of Heathlands themed bingo.
Yeah, Theme Big on Live, and this week we are playing do 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 Agatha Christie Bingo. So this is one of the newer ones. Have we done this one before?
Yeah, I think we've done it like twice now, so this will be the third time.
But we haven't done it. Have we done it live before? Maybe we have. Maybe we
I,
have.
I've done it. I've done it live,
Yeah.
like before.
Okay. I don't know if it's been live on YouTube before. It's definitely been. We've definitely done it live before, but this might be the first time we've done it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we do have a facts book, although it'll be slightly different. It'll be facts about the tiles rather than facts about animals and bees and bugs and things. We have Mark's little fan bunch of supporters there. The invisible imposter, the slightly invisible spoof, and his best friend, which I can't remember the name. What's she called?
Freya.
Freya. Just lost a bit of her hair. So, as always, if you're at Heathlands, you can grab a game sheet off one of the staff members. If you're not at Heathlands and away, you can rewatch this another time. Get yourself the Agatha Christie game with the sheets available in most good game stores and bookstores. Or if you've got the game, just get one of the sheets out and join and play along. And with that being said, should we just get right into it?
Yeah, let's get right into
Let's
it.
go. There we are, onto the game view.
So, as always, we're going to be reading out a round of 5, and then when we get to the end of the round, we will have a
recap, cap.
So they will have heard that at home, but you won't have heard it.
All right.
Fair because
enough.
I had the volume knocked down a bit, so we didn't get echo. I could play it again because I just put the volume up.
Recap, cap.
There, just to prove it did happen.
There you go. Also, one quick final factor I just wanted to bring out.
Oh, go on then.
Did you know that the birthplace of Agatha Christie is where I went away on holiday recently?
And where was that, Mark?
It was Torquay in Devon.
Oh, so she was born in Torquay.
Yeah.
I just remember Murder, She Wrote, Agatha Christie. I don't know if you'd be too young for that, are you, Mark? You don't remember it?
Poirot. Familiar with it?
Yeah, Agatha Christie's Murder, She Wrote. And it was Jessica Fletcher.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. I used to watch a lot of the episodes as a kid.
Yeah, me too. It was the same lady that was in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, the Disney film.
Yeah. Also watched that as well. Okay, with all the historical facts outside, let's get on to the bingo.
Go for it.
So the first one of this round is the Pale Horse.
Pale Horse. Now, is that a pub, do you reckon?
It's most likely a pub.
The Pale Horse, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Death rises a pale horse in the book of Revelation. This is the inspiration for a creepy sign at an inn in a small village, where a trip of self-proclaimed witches claim to be able to use their powers to kill people from miles away. Amateur detective Mark Easterbrook is determined to stop the killing, but how do you stop dark magic? Unless, of course, a much more prosaic murder method is being used. Ooh. That must link to one of the books.
The Pale Horse. Next up we have a hypodermic needle.
Hypodermic needle. This means of poisoning is used frequently by Christie's killers. In And Then and There Were None, cyanide-filled hypodermic serves as a modern bee sting. Near the accident of the city of Petra, a needle administers digitoxin to a Monsieur Martirich. There you go.
Hypodermic needle. Next up is A House of Cards. Also a reference to a TV show.
Yeah. Even geniuses need to relax, and Poirot's preferred method of organising his thoughts is to build a house of playing cards. Hastings comments on Poirot's remarkably steady hand, which helps Poirot solve mysteries and affairs at style. Poirot also builds card houses in Pearl at the End House and Three-Act Tragedy. Ooh.
House of Cards. Next up, Jewels.
Jewels. Precious gems play pivotal roles in many of Christie's stories. A prince's fortune in jewels leads to multiple homicides in Cat Amongst the Pigeons. In The Mystery of the Blue Train, a huge ruby, dubbed the Heart of Fire, is a motive for murder. Additionally, the hunt for the Koh-i-Noor diamond is central to the secret of chimneys. There you go.
Jewels.
Yeah. People get murdered for the jewels.
Very, very common.
Oh yeah, it happens every day.
And then final one of this round, Sugar Hammer.
A sugar hammer, okay. Sugar hammer. In Miss McGinty's Dead, Poirot must clear the name of an innocent maid before he is hanged for murder of his landlady, who was bludgeoned to death. The weapon was never found. Poirot must endure the discomforts of a shady boarding house with terrible food until he discovers the weapon, a sugar hammer, a bejeweled metal instrument used in the Middle East, used for preparing sweeteners for tea. And in the right hand, the sugar hammer may be just the tool for tricking the killer into confessing. There you go.
Sugar Hammer.
Sugar hammer.
So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap, cap, 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 cap.
thank you? First up was the Pale Horse, a pub.
One of the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
The hypodermic needle, or
It was used to emulate a bee sting.
very, very common murder weapon. A House of Cards,
Poirot's way of steadying his mind.
also a TV show.
But not an Agatha Christie one.
Not an Agatha Christie one.
Jewels.
Jewels.
Everyone wants to murder for jewels.
It is true. There's a do.
J for jewels. Before K.
There it is. And then finally, the Sugar Hammer.
Which I've never came across before.
Interesting murder weapon.
Mm.
A sweet death. Now moving on to round 2, the bingo. And the first one is the lady herself, Agatha Christie.
She's the best-selling murder mystery writer of all time, selling over 2 billion books globally, with only the Bible and Shakespeare's plays outselling her. She wrote 66 crime novels, 150 short story collections, 2 memoirs and 6 romance novels under the pseudonym Mary Westmacott. As well as over a dozen plays, a respected dramatist, she became the most successful female playwright of her generation. She was a mystery writer and America's first Grand Master, who won awards and set multiple world records. There you go. She must have moved to America after Devon.
Most likely. But you can learn a lot more about her life in Turkey if you do like
Is there a museum there? Is it?
in the museums, or also like the tours that they do around the Bay. And next up is Bertram's Hotel.
Bertram's Hotel. During the 1960s, many senior citizens longed for a happier time, yearning for a pre-war era of comfort, style, and courtesy that of a younger generation seemed to have abandoned. Inspired by real-life hotels like Brown's and Fleming's, London's Bertram's Hotel caters to guests seeking luxury nostalgia. When Miss Maple visits everything is perfect until her vacation is interrupted by imposters, heists, and murder. Dun dun dun. It was him.
It was him. The
Is the imposter?
Bertram's Hotel. Next up is Captain Hastings.
Poirot's loyal friend and concierge, or chronicler, of many of his early adventures, narrating 8 novels and many short stories. Though he endures many derogatory comments from Poirot regarding his intelligence, he's been known to risk his life to save Poirot. After the murder on the links, Hastings moves to Argentina to run a ranch and has 4 children. Though his frequency returns to England to visit Poirot, by black coffee, he's been awarded an OBE. Ooh. I nearly said he had 4 chickens and instead of children. Not quite as worthy, Norton.
Captain Hastings. Next up is a poisoned atomizer.
Poisoned atomizer. In the mirror cracked from side to side, St. Mary Mead has some new residents. Movie star and other film industry professionals. When one character witnesses a poisoning, a little blackmail seems like a good idea. The blackmailer has second and final thoughts when inhaling a little allergy medication through an atomizer, smelling cyanide bitter almond odour a fraction of a second too late. Ooh.
Poison atomizer.
Yeah. So it's like a perfume bottle but with poison in it. Dun, dun, dun.
And then finally of this round, adventurous.
Adventurous. Adventurous. Christie's novels are full of brave, intelligent, spirited women who are looking for adventure and generally wind up having fun and finding love along the way. Some are improvised. Others are members of the nobility. Besides Tuppence Bareford, there's Annie Bedingfield in The Man in the Brown Suit, Lady Frances Frankie, Derwent in Why Didn't They Ask Evans, and Victoria Jones in They Came to Baghdad. One of the best loved Christie adventures is Lady Eileen Bundle Brent in both The Secret of Chimneys and The 7 Deadly Mysteries. There you go. The
Adventurous. So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap, cap.
First up was Agatha Christie.
The woman herself. Born in Torquay.
Born in Torquay. Then we had Bertram's Hotel.
For the more nostalgic people who want the luxury of life, but may get murdered.
Then we had Captain Hastings.
The chronicler of Poirot's mysteries.
who has four
Chickens?
four chickens, not
Four children.
four children.
Yeah.
Then we have the poison atomizer,
Perfume bottle full of poison.
a perfect Christmas gift.
Hmm.
And then finally, adventurous.
Many of which feature in the novels.
Now moving on to round number 3. And next up is Jane Marple.
Jane Marple. Thanks to her keen observational skills and her deep understanding of human nature, Miss Marple is a brilliant detective. She is often underestimated by her peers and the police at first, but once she starts unravelling mysteries, she earns the respect of all around her. Miss Marple believes humanity to not be either good or bad, but simply very silly.
Jane Marple. Next up is Stray Chinine.
Straight-line.
I can't pronounce that. It's basically a
It
bottle
does look like
poison.
Straight-line. In Christie's first mystery novel, The Mysterious Affair of Styles, she used her knowledge as a pharmacist to show the painful effects of strychnine poisoning.
Strychnine.
A scientifically minded review applauded Christie, saying she knew her job. One of the most bitter poisons, strychnine also appears in stories like How Does Your Garden Grow and The Coming of Mr. Quinn. Strychnine. It's probably pronounced totally differently, but we're going with that. If you don't know the proper pronunciation, kind of phonetically spell it for us in the comments.
Next up is a police officer.
Where there's a murder, there's a police officer, who appear in almost all of Christie's novels. Some arrest the wrong people, others are quite competent. Some are hostile towards Poirot and Miss Marple, others work quite well with them. Some of the most prominent recurring police officers are Inspector Dermot Craddock, who becomes one of Mrs. Marple's greatest allies, Superintendent Battle, one of the most respected men in Scotland Yard, and Superintendent Spence, a close friend of Poirot's. There you go. The police officers.
The police officers can be your best friend or your best enemy if you're a detective.
Your best enemy.
What?
Your best enemy.
Yeah, but your best enemy.
Would not be your worst enemy. Could be your best, I suppose. Best
Or
worst.
your frenemy.
Frenemy. It's better.
Next up is St. Mary Mead.
St. Mary Mead. The village of St. Mary Mead seems like a peaceful spot, but as the most famous resident Miss Marple can attest, appearances can be deceiving. Many of the residents have dark secrets, and the village frequently witnesses theft, adultery, and murder. Fortunately, Miss Marple and her small coterie of loyal friends are always willing to investigate. Courtier, that must be. Courtier. The village of St. Mary Mead. I wonder if there is a village of St. Mary Mead in Torquay, or near Torquay.
I didn't look that up when I was there, but I might look it up again. And finally, the doctor.
The doctor. D for doctor. Where are you at? Plenty of medical people appear in Christie's novels. While some pundits claim that the doctor always does it in a Christie mystery, this is false. A doctor is just as likely to be a victim as a crime as a killer, and even more likely to be an innocent standby. Some of Christie's most famous doctors are And Then There Were None, Edward Armstrong, whose alcohol use doomed a patient, Sarah King, who seeks to rescue a troubled love interest in Appointment with Death, and James Shepherd, who narrates Murder of Roger Ackroyd. There you go. The doctors.
The doctor. So
Recap, Recap,
Back to you, one step ahead of me. Like keep on
Sorry,
on track.
I'll get it right.
First up was Jane Marple.
Yep. So she's a quite competent detective.
Detective. Then we had
Strychnine.
strychnine. It's a type.
Strychnine.
It's a type of poison.
Yeah,
Another very
it was
common.
used in her very first novel, and she was applauded for the use of it.
Then we have the police officer, which
Can be a friend or foe.
your friend or foe or frenemy. Then we had St. Mary Mead.
Quaint little village where a lot of stuff goes on, to be fair.
And then finally, a doctor.
Yeah, which feature in different parts throughout the books.
So moving on to round 4. And the first one of this round is Tuppence Resford.
Tuppence Resbut. Tuppence Beresford. When Prudence Tuppence Berryford completes her service as a nurse during World War I, she's not finished serving her country. Side by side with her and dear friend turned husband, Tommy Tuppence Barley, throws herself into numerous hazardous missions over the coming decades, including going undercover as a maid for a dangerous criminal, using her knowledge of poisons to identify a multiple murderer, helping lonely people find love, recovering buried treasure, smashing unbreakable alibis, and solving a 60-year-old cold case. Ooh. Sounds good. And she has a nice leopard skin coat on her.
As she does. Tuppence Resford. Next up is Soldier Island.
Soldier Island. In And Then There Were None, 10 strangers are invited to stay at a luxurious hotel on Soldier Island, an isolated place off the coast of Devon, inspired by the real-life Burra Island. Once they've cut off from the outside world, they are all accused of getting away with murder, and an unknown executioner starts carrying out sentences.
Ooh. So it's inspired by a real island.
Off the coast of Devon,
Off the
called
coast of
Burra
Devon.
Island. Or Bruff Island, maybe Bruff Island. Burgh.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know if it's near Torquay or maybe further away from Torquay.
You never know. Well, Torquay's on the coast, so maybe it is.
Next up is very famous train, the Orient Express.
Orient Express.
My bad.
Is it the Orient Express or just Orient Express?
Just the Orient
Orient
Express.
In the most famous luxury train in the world, and on one journey from Turkey to France, Poirot finds himself snowed in with a corpse in one of the cabins and a train full of suspects. The setting was inspired by Christie's own Orient Express journey, where she met real-life inspirations for Murder on the Orient Express characters and dealt with a man who was continuously trying to open the door between the compartments. Not, I hope, for the worst reasons, but because I think he thought it was the wash place. There you go. Inspired by your own trip.
The Orient Express. Next up is Eric the Skull.
Eric the Skull. Good old Eric. Where you at? Eric the Skull is the mascot of the Detection Club, an organisation of British crime writers founded in 1930. G.K. Chesterton was the first president, and the other early members include Dorothy L. Slayers, Anthony Barclay, Ronald Conks, Baroness Orksey, and R. Austin Freeman. New initiatives of the club swear an oath to fair pay on Eric, whose eyes are lit up with battery-powered LED lights. Ooh.
Eric the Skull. And then finally, we have apples.
Apples. Miss Oliver loves apples. She often munches on them as she's working on a novel, and sometimes starts munching without realising it. However, she loses her taste for them in Halloween's party, when a young girl is drowned in the titular gathering, drowned in a bucket of apples meant for bobbing. Dun dun dun. Deadly apples.
Apples. So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap, cap.
I nailed it that time, look.
First up was Tuppence Bresford.
In her lovely leopard skin coat.
Yes. Then we had Soldier Island, inspired by a real island
Indeed
off
it
the
was.
coast of Devon. The world's famous train, Orient Express. Then we had Eric the Skull with LED lights. And then finally, how'd you like them apples?
In a basket, please.
So now moving on to round number 5.
Is this not 6?
I'm pretty sure it's 5.
Okay.
If I've miscounted, then I apologise. First up in this round, we have Porcupine.
Porcupine? Instead of porcupine. Porcupine. After retiring from government work, Porcupine decides to go into the business for himself, with the stated goal of making people happy. People in rocky marriages and dull lives come to him, and he helps them, most of the time. Payne is assisted by his secretary, Miss Felicity Lemon, and crime writers, Miss Ardeen Oliver. In later stories, Pine solves various crimes over the course of a journey through Europe and the Middle East. Mr. Porcupine.
Porcupine. Next up in this round is the husband of Tuppence, Tommy Bresford.
Tommy Beresford. What's a young war veteran who can't find a job to do? Why? Pair up with his long-time buddy and later wife, Tuppence, to go on adventures when a secret branch of the government recruits Tommy and Tuppence to help prevent a revolution. In the beginning of the stellar career of espionage and sleuthing, including running a detective agency, catching Nazi spies, and catching a serial killer. Tommy Beresford.
Ooh. Next up, we have Top Secret Papers.
Top Secret Papers. Okay.
Do you care to read them?
I don't know. In the prologue, The Secret Adversary, a British agent gives a packet containing secret treaty to a young woman as a Lusitanian sinks. Lusitanian sinks. I don't know what that is. During World War One. The treaty was meant as a peacemaking tool, but in the post-war years, the paper is used by the unscrupulous to cloud illuminate the government. It's up to Tommy and Tuppence to prevent the papers from being powered mad by Brown. Can use them to take over England.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Top Secret Papers.
Yeah, there you go. Top Secret Papers.
Next up, we have Hercule
Oh, the man himself. Hercule Poirot.
Poirot.
Or Poirot. Not so modestly self-described as the greatest detective in the world, Poirot was the star of the Belgian police before World War One, made him a refugee, and he fled to England, becoming a private detective who solved baffling cases and resolved government scandals. He loves order and method, relies on his little grey cells, and sports a magnificent moustache. He's been played on screen by major actors like David Suchet, Albert Finley, Peter Ustinov, Alfred Monolova, John Malkovich, and Kenneth Branagh. Didn't realise so many people played it.
Yeah, like I've seen and heard many adaptations of him. I've even like watched a few of them.
I bet John Malkovich was good as him.
So anyway, final one of this round is Checkmate. Chess
Dun,
piece.
dun, dun, checkmate. The chess piece. In The Big Four, a chess master keels over and dies a few moves into a match. During the post-modern, a white bishop is found tightly clutched in his fist. Was it a fast-acting poison, or was it something else? Poirot investigates the case, discovering a surprising impersonation, and the truth is shocking. Ooh. The chess piece.
Chess piece. So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap.
First up was Porcupine.
Porcupine.
Then we had Tommy
Beresford.
Beresford. Then we had Top Secret Papers.
Yep.
Then we had Hercule Poirot. And then finally we had Checkmate, Chess
The
Piece.
chess piece.
So now moving on to round 6, I think,
Or 7.
or 7. We don't know. But we'll just carry on anyway. Next up is golf clubs.
Ooh. Golf clubs. In real life, golf put a strain on Christie's first marriage, as she became a golf widow. Golf clubs appear in The Murder on the Links and were a clever clue in Murder in the Mews and in Towards Zero. A multisport athlete is the prime suspect when a wealthy woman is seemingly bludgeoned with one of his clubs. Dun, dun, dun.
Do you like playing golf as a sport, but not
Not hitting people with the clubs.
yeah. Plus, they're quite heavy golf clubs as
Yeah.
well.
What, you're saying you should hit someone with something lighter?
Preferably a toy one.
Okay. With a squeak in it. Exactly.
Next up is a soldier statuette.
Soldier statuette. As and then there were none opens, 10 little soldier statuettes stand on the dining room table. As the 10 guests start dying, and the manners described in the classic nursery rhyme, the statues start getting broken one by one. Ooh.
Soldier statuette. Next up is bang.
Bang.
Revolver.
Oh. Firearms are commonly used as weapons in Christie's novels, including the disappearing and reappearing revolver in And Then There Were None, and the subsequent gun collection producing multiple potential weapons in The Hollow. Many of Christie's military men brought home their service revolvers as souvenirs. It's before all the gun laws came in. I suppose they're in America, aren't they? So they can get away with it.
Yeah, but like guns are a little less discreet as a murder weapon.
Well, not if they've got a silencer on. All you'd hear.
Let's not be giving ideas here. Anyway, next up is a blackbird.
Have you gone into the question of black words? As Miss Marple asks in Poirot's In a Pocket Full of Rye. When the trio of death mirrors a nursery rhyme and some blackbirds are found on the master of the house's desk, Miss Marple's question proves shrewder than the police first think, and all the carnage may be connected to the blackbird mine of Africa. Ooh. Blackbird mine of Africa. Is there a mine for blackbirds, or is it a mine called Blackbird? You can't mine for blackbirds, can you? Unless blackbirds are slang for something.
No, I assume it's just the name of the mine.
Yeah.
Because you can't mine blackbirds.
Unless blackbirds is slang for something, like black ruby or something. Or, I don't know.
Maybe, we don't know. And final one of this round, Colonel Race.
Colonel Race. This man of action is a British spy, travelling the world on secret missions, many of which involve tracking down secret agents and arms dealers. While he's highly skilled at espionage, he is less lucky in love. He first appears in The Man in the Brown Suit, works alongside Poirot in Cards on the Table and Death on the Nile, and also investigates a year-old poisoning in The Sparkling Cyanide. He has a knack of detecting undercover agents.
Ooh.
He's a spy.
Kona race. That's the end of this round, so can we have a...
Recap, cap.
First up was golf clubs.
Certainly was.
Good for a sport, not so great for a murder weapon. Then we had the soldier statuette.
Which get broken as the victims die, I believe. Was it?
Yeah. Then we had a not so discreet weapon, revolver.
The revolver.
Then we had the blackbird.
Which get mined in Africa.
Not actual blackbirds. Just saying
We
it
don't
now.
know. It might be.
And then finally, Colonel Race.
The British spy.
So now moving on to round 6, I think. Or was it round 7?
Could be round 8. Not sure. It's a round.
Anyway, we're moving on to the next round. And next up is a tennis racket.
Tennis racket, where are you at? This piece of sports equipment is often put to sinister use in Christie's books. In Cat Amongst the Pigeons, a schoolgirl discovers that her tennis racket contains a big surprise. In the hollowed-out handle, a cache of gemstones. Ooh. A murder suspect is also an acclaimed tennis player with a legendary background in Towards Zero. And the racket handle with an andiron ball screwed to the inside becomes a murder weapon. Andiron. Don't know what that is. Andiron.
Anyway, tennis racket.
Could be used to hide gems or be a murder weapon. Your choice.
I prefer to use it to play tennis, but yeah. Next up is Countess Vera Rozakov.
As Loren Adler is to Sherlock Holmes and Catwoman is to Batman, Countess Vera Rasakov is to Hercule Poirot. A flamboyant woman with henna red hair, she's the only woman to catch Poirot's romantic interest. After the Russian Revolution, the disoppressed noble woman turned to crime, even working for an organization bent on world domination, until Poirot brought her back into a quasi-honest life, when he rescued the kidnapped son she thought was dead. After reforming, she runs a nightclub called Hell. There you go.
There you go.
Poirot's fancy woman.
Next up is Poison Pen Letter.
Poison pen letter. Oh, that's when you cut out loads of bits of newspaper in it. In the moving finger, Limestock is usually a quiet village, but the tranquility is disturbed when a series of anonymous poison pen letters, crafted out of cut-out postcard letters, anonymous to the resident with slanderous and often probably fake accusations. One letter recipient, however, drinks cyanide after receiving a particularly nasty letter, and the villagers wonder, could this letter have been accurate? It's up to Miss Marple to reveal the truth. Ooh.
Poison Pen Letter. It might be a good idea for a collage, but don't actually follow through with it.
Use it for art.
Use it for art,
Not
not for murder. Next up is Felicity Lemon.
Felicity Lemon, where are you at? A marvellously efficient secretary who works with both Hercule Poirot and Parker Pine. Miss Lemon's main ambition in life is to invent a filing system that will surpass all others. She has a sister, Mrs. Hubbard, who is overseen in a hostel for students. Though she and Hastings were friends in the succulent television series, in Christie's original stories, Miss Lemon and Hastings never met. Dun dun dun. Big reveal.
Let's do that, man. And then finally, we have Mr. Satterthwaite.
So was that Mr. Can't find that one, Mr. Satterthwaite. He's not under M. Where would he be under? He's under S. Okay. The self-confessed snob, Mr. Satterthwaite, enjoys socialising and the feeling and the finer things in life. After the only woman he ever loved turned him down, Mr. Satterthwaite was content to sit back and observe others living and loving, until Mr. Quinn taught him how to become a sleuth. Mr. Satterthwaite also appears in 2 Poirot mysteries. Christie's considered Mr. Satterthwaite one of her favourite characters. Oh, there you go. So a favourite of Agatha herself.
So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap.
First up was a tennis racket. Good for sport, not so good for murder.
You can hide gems in it too.
High gems in it. Then we had Countess Vera Rozakov.
That was Poirot's fancy woman.
Then we had a poison pen letter.
Yeah.
That might be a good idea for art collage, but not so much murder. Then we had Velocity Lemon. And then finally, Mr. Satterthwaite.
Agatha's favourite character.
So now moving on to the next round. First up, very, very common, pearl necklace.
A pearl necklace. Where are you at? Many women wear pearl necklaces in Christie's novels. In Death on the Nile, Lynette Doyle wears a much coveted pearl necklace that not one but 2 people tried to steal over the course of the novel. In A Murder is Announced, Miss Blacklock habitually wears a pearl choker, which everybody assumes is fake, but once the deaths start piling up, a detective starts wondering if the unusually large pearls are genuine. Ooh.
Next up, we have handkerchief with a H.
A handkerchief with a H on top. This monogrammed woman's handkerchief was a prominent clue for the scene of the crime, a phrase Christie's attributed to creating. A Murder on the Orient, Poirot has no shortage of female suspects with the initial H, but it's his knowledge of foreign languages that eventually lands him the right direction.
Handkerchief with a H. Next up, We have Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. The Joker's girlfriend. Harley Quinn is a mysterious man. Some people even wonder if he is a supernatural entity rather than a human being. He has an almost magical ability to appear when he's most needed, and then vanish after problems are solved. With the help of Mr. Satterthwaite, Mr. Quinn helps bring lovers together, rights injustices, and solves murders. But the mystery that interests him the most is the mystery of the human heart. Harley Quinn.
Next up, we have a surf icon.
Surf icon. Okay. Christie was one of the first women, or one of the first Western women to surf. In 1922, she went on an all-around-the-world trip as part of her first husband's job. Along the way, she bodyboarded in South America and surfed upright in Hawaii. The biggest challenge, finding sturdy swimwear, especially after waves wrecked her silk bathing clothes, leaving her in an awkward position. Ooh. So she was naked in the sea, basically.
Okay. Surf icon. And the final one is Morris Cowley.
Maurice Crowley. In her autobiography, Crispy declared, "I don't think anything has given me more pleasure, more joy of achievement than my dear bottle-nosed Maurice Crowley. The second most thrilling event in her life was dining with the Queen in Buckingham Palace. After she earned £500 for serial rights to the man in the brown suit in the mid-20s, Christie's first husband encouraged her to buy a car with the money. This was a time when few of their friends had automobiles and fewer women drove. She had a Maurice Crowley.
So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap.
first up was the pearl necklace.
Yep.
Then we had the handkerchief with a H. Then we had Harley Quinn. Then we had the surf icon.
Yep.
And then finally the Morris Cowley.
Her favourite blogging. So we're getting close to the end now.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So people should start getting lines and getting the closer to all a sort of elusive house.
First up for this next round is the Vicar.
The Vicar. No small English village beset by murder is complete without a vicar at the local church. Most vicars make only cameo appearances, officiating the weddings and funerals. Protagonists Tuppence Beresford and Bobby Jones have vicars for fathers. Christie's most prominent vicar is Leonard Clement, the narrator of the murder of the vicarage, who tries to prevent a scandal and winds up assessing Miss Marple in catching a killer. Assisting Miss Marple, sorry.
Not assessing.
Not assessing her. He didn't do an assessment of the murder. How well have you done? 5 out of 10.
Anyway, the Vicar. Next up, we have alarm clocks.
Oh. Alarm clocks. In The Seven Dials mystery, a group of bright young things starring at the country Sorry, I'll start again. A group of bright young things staying at the country house, Chimneys, decide to play a prank on a friend who's always oversleeping. So they buy 8 alarm clocks, set them in place all around the room when she is resting. The joke ceases to be funny when the morning comes and they find their friend dead from an overdose of sleeping medication. And 7 of the alarm clocks are lined up on the mantelpiece, 8 having been tossed out the window. Ooh. Dun dun dun.
Alarm clocks. Can you pass me the remote real quick? We're about to. TV's about to go to sleep.
Oh, you want to go to sleep?
Thank you.
Sorted?
Should be all good now. Next up is a nurse.
Nurse. Where are you at? Christie's books are full of people needing medical care and the nurses who look after them. Some are the angels of mercies, others are the angels of death, who use poison on their patients. The most prominent of Christie's nurses is Amy Latheran, the narrator of The Murder in Mesopotamia, who travels to Iraq to care for a woman with emotional issues. Everybody thinks Nurse Latheran's patient's persecution complex is all overheard until a murder disputes the archaeological dig. Okay.
Okay, nurse. Next up is Whitehaven Mansions.
Oh, Whitehaven. I wonder if that's a Cumbrian Whitehaven. Whitehaven Mansions. In the ABC murders, Poirot has moved to a luxury flat at Whitehaven Mansions, where he indulges in his preference for modern design and neat, symmetrical squares. Around the time his friend Hastings returns for a visit, Poirot starts receiving boastful letters from a serial killer, and Poirot's new address may provide a useful clue. Ooh.
Whitehaven Mansions. And the final one of this round, we have a parasol.
Parasol. Where are Miss Marple is often depicted as carrying a parasol. In The Perfect Maid, Miss Marple drops her umbrella and other items in a feint in order to trick a suspect into giving her fingerprints without realizing it. After Miss Marple exonerates a man wrongly convicted of murder in The Nemesis, she receives a huge cash reward. When a financial advisor offers to invest her windfall, Miss Marple instead chooses to spend it on treats and comforts, saying, "The only thing I shall want for a rainy day will be my umbrella."
Parasol. So that's it in this round. So can we have a
Recap, cap.
thank you. First up was the Vicar. Then we had the alarm clocks. Then we had the nurse. Then we had Whitehaven Mansions.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Parasol.
Good for rainy days.
And moving on to the next round.
We must be getting close to the end now.
Yeah, I believe we are getting close now. And first up in this round is a cruise ship.
A cruise ship. Okay. Cruise ship. In The Man in the Brown Suit, Arden Bedingfield, a young woman seeking adventure, starts investigating a pair of mysterious deaths. Her sleuthing takes her to the Kilmodden Castle, a cruise ship heading for South Africa. On her voyage, she finds stolen diamonds, battles a criminal genius and master of disguise, and falls for a dashing young man who might be a killer, all while a massive inheritance hangs in the balance. Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh, cruise ship. Next up is a poisoned champagne glass.
Poisoned champagne glass. In one of the worst birthday parties ever, beautiful heiress Rosemary Barton dies after drinking cyanide-laced champagne. The police rule it a suicide, but her husband is sure it was murder. A year later, she reignites the crime with all of the original guests, but tragedy strikes twice when a second champagne glass is poisoned. Dun, dun, dun. So the murder is still at the reenactment.
Poisoned champagne glass. Next up is foxgloves.
Foxglove is a plant well-shaped with a bell-shaped flower. In real life, a scientist learned about how foxglove could be used as a heart medicine when he learned about the village witch, who brewed a healing potion from foxglove leaves. Discovery of digitalis saved many lives, but in The Herb of Death and Poston of Fate, people die after eating sage stuffing and salad, including foxglove. Ooh. So it can help your heart or stop your heart. Foxglove.
Foxgloves. Next up is a teacup with poison.
Teacup with poison, okay. Where are you at? Teacup with poison. Care for a cuppa? In Christie's novel, it may be wiser to go thirsty. In Murder Is Easy, a woman dies after arsenic is slipped into her tea. Other poisoned teacups appear in The Hollow, Sad Cypress, and A Pocketful of Rye, containing toxic substances like cyanide and morphia.
Teacup with poison. And then final one in this round. ABC train timetable.
ABC train timetable. A serial killer is on the loose in the ABC murders. He kills in alphabetical order, in locations matching their names. Alice Asher is assaulted in Andover. Betty Bernard is brutally strangled in Bexhill. Sir Carmichael Clark is clubbed in Churston. An ABC railway guide is left at every crime scene. It's up to Poirot to stop the killer before he gets to Z. Dun, dun, dun.
ABC train timetable. So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap.
first up was cruise ship.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had poisoned champagne glass.
Which was used twice.
Then we had foxgloves.
Which can help the heart and stop the heart.
Then we had a teacup with poison.
Yep.
And then finally, ABC train timetable.
Where people are murdered in the same place as what their name starts with, or the same letter, rather.
Now moving on to the next round.
Is this the last round, do you think?
I think this might be the penultimate round.
Okay.
First up is the Tunisian dagger.
A Tunisian dagger. Tunisian dagger. This weapon slew one of the most famous murder victims in all of literature, Roger Ackroyd. The artistry of the Tunisian metalwork led to the investigation detective to dub it a beautiful object, a dangerous toy to have around. It only became a murder weapon by chance, because the killer made a last-minute change for something more traceable. Ooh.
Tunisian dagger. Next up, we have Peter Fox Terrier.
Peter Fox Terrier. Christie loved many dogs during her lifetime, but one of the dearest to her was Peter, a fox terrier she had during the 1920s and 30s. Peter inspired the character of Bob in Dumb Witness, a terrier wrongly accused of nearly killing an elderly woman by leaving his ball on the top of the stairs. Poirot clears Bob in the book, and Christie dedicated the novel to Peter.
Peter Fox Terrier. Next up is Ariane Oliver.
Widely regarded as an affectionate self-parody of Christie, Miss Oliver is a successful mystery novelist who solves cases with Poirot and also worked with Parker Payne. She strongly believes in women's intuition, as frequently declares that England's crime rate would be far lower if a woman is in charge of Scotland Yard. She has so many godchildren, she can't keep track of them all, consistently changes her hairstyle, and is incredibly fond of apples. There you go. So she's a parody of Agatha Christie herself. Ardine Oliver.
Ardine Oliver. Next up is, you won't want to eat this, the stone pineapple.
It's easy to kill if you know how to make it look like an accident. In Murder is Easy, a serial killer is eliminating residents one by one, carefully making them look like natural deaths or fatal misadventures. When an elderly woman tells you Luke Frizzington what's happening, he doesn't believe her until she is hit by a car. Luke starts investigating, and when a stone pineapple, a symbol of hospitality, appears to have fallen atop of the head of an ill-tempered chauffeur, he knows it wasn't due to a strong wind. That must be like on top of a building then.
Stone pineapple. And then finally, we have a gramophone.
Gramophone. These devices played more than music, and in And Then There Were None, a specially made record accused 10 people of murder. When the butler turned on the gramophone, he thought he was just playing a pleasant background tune titled Swan Song.
Gramophone. So that's the end of this round, so can we have a...
Recap.
First up was the Tunisian dagger. Then we had the Peter Fox Terrier. Then we have already Oliver. Then we have the stone pineapple. And then finally a gramophone.
A gramophone.
Now moving on to the next round, I actually counted. This is the penultimate round. And then the next one is the last round.
My God, this has gone on forever, this one.
Yeah, it's gone on a bit longer than expected. So we apologise
I think
for
because the
that.
descriptions are quite long. That's probably why.
First up for this round is the archaeological dig.
During her second marriage and the archaeologist Max Malone, Christie made her near annual trips to the Middle East for her husband's excavations. She wrote about their experiences and adventures in the memoir Come Tell Me How You Lie, describing mishaps such as staying in rat-infested hotels. Their bed had to be brought outside so they could sleep. Christie studied certain styles of Mesopotamian pottery, and when she asked who the world's expert on these ceramics was, she could learn more. She was informed she was the world's leading authority. There you go.
Archaeological dig. Next up, Salome Otterborn.
Salome Otterburn.
Salome.
Aside from Miss Oliver, Christie's books feature some notable writers. There's Daniel Clancy, who turns the crime in Deaths in the Clouds into a novel, and Raymond West, Miss Maple's nephew, who writes ultramodern novels about unpleasant people, the surprising popularity of which perplexes Miss Maple.
Salome Otterborn. Next up is Egypt.
Egypt. Hercule Poirot loves to travel, though ocean voyages leave him horribly seasick. River cruises are far easier on him, and in Death on the Nile, his relaxing vacation is interrupted by a love triangle gone horribly wrong. A fabulously wealthy heiress has married her best friend's ex-fiancé, and now her furious former pal is stalking them on their honeymoon. Poirot tries to prevent a killing before he's compelled to solve a murder.
Egypt. Next up is The Mousetrap.
This is by far the world's longest running play, with well over 28,000 performances in London as of 2022, since 1952. Audiences have flocked to the West End to see the story of 8 guests and a snowbound hotel with a serial strangler determined to get revenge for past injustices.
Mousetrap. And then the final one of this round, we have Inspector Japp.
Inspector Japp. Where's he gone? Inspector Japp. James Japp is Poirot and Hastings, ally at Scotland Yard. Japp first worked with Poirot during the Abercombe forgery case in 1904, though the details of that crime were never recorded. Japp frequently came to Poirot for help in cases and decently respected Poirot's advice. Notably, David Chaussette played Japp alongside Peter Ustinov before stepping into the role of Poirot himself.
Inspector Jap. So that's the end of this round. So can we have a
Recap.
first up was the archaeological dig.
It was.
Then we had Selim
Ottoman.
Ottoman. Then we had Egypt.
Yep.
Then we had the mousetrap.
Longest running play.
And then we had Inspector Jap.
We did.
So now moving on to the final round.
Yay. Finally got there. So people should be getting, if you haven't got house already, you should be very close. You're less than 4 tiles away, probably.
First up for this is the barrister.
Barrister. Everybody who is accused of crime, whether they're guilty or wrongly accused, is entitled to legal representation. Innocent people on trial in the mysterious affair of Styles, Sad Cypress, and Five Little Pigs all get lawyers, but it's Poirot who saves their clients. Far and away, the most famous barrister in Christie's canon is the wily defence lawyer Sir Wilfrid Roberts, from the play The Witness for the Prosecution.
Barrister. Next up is Buckle Chew.
Buckle Chew. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. Poirot solves a series of deaths that have the potential to determine the fate of England. A seemingly ditzy retired actress is found murdered in a flat, but the body is unrecognisable. The main source of identification is a buckled shoe, but as Poirot knows, things aren't really as simple as they first appear.
Buckle Chew. Next up is sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus. These ancient Egyptian caskets make a couple of appearances in Christie's work. In Death Comes as the End, an early and influential novel in the historical mystery genre, victims of a rapidly dwindling Egyptian family are buried in sarcophaguses. There you go.
Sarcophagus. And the final one is a maidservant.
Oh, the maidservant. Christie's novels are full of maids and housekeepers, keeping country houses tidy. Some become victims, like The Moving Finger and A Pocketful of Rye. Some are embarrassed to be a domestic service and wish to escape, often through marriage. Christie's most prominent domestic servant is Lucy Eilesbrow. In 450, the Paddington, Lucy is a mathematical prodigy who decided against an academic career when she learned that working as a temporary housekeeper paid better. There you go.
A maidservant.
The maidservant.
So that's it for this round. So can we have a
Recap.
first up was the barrister. Then we had the Buckle Chew.
From 1, 2, buckle my shoe.
Then we had the sarcophagus.
Yep. Used to bury people.
And then finally, the maidservant.
Yep. Often marries the wealthy householder. So everybody should now have house. If you don't have house, watch it back over because you probably missed one. So that was, oh God, an hour and 20 minutes, because I think that's the longest one we've done so far.
Yeah, that was a really long bingo.
We try to get to an hour usually. So
Yeah.
hope you stayed with us until the end. And if you didn't, sorry for waffling on too much. And we will be back in a couple of weeks' time with another bingo. But for now, see you later.
Bye.
Bye.